Creeks or North Village can serve the area. What is the city bringing to the table? Why is the current annexation going to occur, other than the request of the property owner? What do you bring to the table?
I think that question opens back to the landowner. I mean, we're not in a position of request, and they're coming at us.
I think nobody along Mill Road that I'm aware of has ever asked
that question.
ever, for both of us.
Well, I think what you're talking about would be a landowner north of town, North Village wise. I think you're probably right on that, east of Mill Road. We're talking about two different.
But you know, as part of this discussion, I don't see where Heber is saying we want to annex Cobblestone or we want to annex beyond Mill Road. If a property owner in that area wants to annex them to Heber, then Heber would listen to them. That's what I'm understanding.
When have we ever forced anyone?
I don't know that you have.
So I think that's the point that we need
I
to
think
go
that's
through.
Well, what's the difference between forcing that and forcing this on the map?
What are you saying, Sam? I'm sorry.
What's the difference between that and forcing this on the planning map then?
It just gives the property owner a choice.
But you're making that choice, not the property owner.
Well, I think you're giving the person on the boundary or in the transition zone an option.
Yeah, I think that's an appropriate thing for them to do.
And I don't know that I agree with wanting to give higher density. I think the real reason here that we're all concerned, or at least myself, is the densities. Typically a city or a municipal has much higher density than a county. If we're saying we're willing to work on that and keep the densities where everybody wants it to be, and we're saying that our water and sewer district can work, I know we did it with Red Ledges, that was one property owner at the time. This is multiple developments, a lot of places, so that's a few comments. Yes, sir.
I think we go into a lot of problems in the past. I think we're trying to meet together to go forward. When the Planning Commission talked about the water and sewer, which has been bonded for, we're saying leave those with the districts that are there. They'll get the impact fees. They built the infrastructure. All this infrastructure you're talking about isn't roads and streets and secondary roads. It's water and sewer, and Rocky Mountain put in the infrastructure for the other stuff. I think that's the other thing we need to understand is what happens if we were to annex Heber Fire and Light, then, you know, serves in our city. How does that sort out with Rocky Mountain? But I don't think that county has put in power. The water and sewer was bonded for by those three districts, which we're acknowledging we would keep intact and give the impact fees to where they belong. Now we're talking about, you know, police and other things that are typically in density areas, city services.
Right, and we're talking about doing an interlocal agreement where it would all be specified that the district is still going to remain solvent. And if I'm understanding it, I'm not certain, as part of that interlocal agreement, Heber City would continue to honor the limited access onto the highway. Did I understand that properly?
Oh, yeah. I think if that's going to happen, I would say you could do it in the interlocal agreement, but we could even go further and have the city sign an agreement directly with UDOT, just like the county did.
There's one thing that I'm a little concerned about, and it's just because I don't know it well enough, Mike, is on building permits. Is that a revenue source for the county?
Not supposed to be.
Isn't that supposed to just, whether it's county or city, no one should be getting rich off of this, right? Right, isn't it just supposed to cover the fees that we charge for building?
I don't know, the city brought up the revenue issue, and that's the only revenue available.
Okay. So you're not talking about the county losing potential revenue, because we can't make revenue off of it. We can't make a profit off of that. It's just what it costs us to do the work. Am I wrong? Is that
They're not going to lose revenue either.
right? So Heber wouldn't be. So there's no reason for them to make revenue.
They have the road stocks come in instead. You have the commercial. That's your resales. That's really part of your biggest part is you get them sales tax on it.
Right, but it's not the building permits, because building permits you should only be covering your costs. It shouldn't be. That should be a revenue source, right?
In fact, the state legislature is more and more taking from cities and counties, like, for example, home occupations can't be charged a fee anymore because cities, frankly, were abusing that. It's supposed to cover costs, all licensing, all that stuff. Sales tax is another matter, but that's the commercial that can
That's a
develop
commercial
in these areas, not residential.
Well, there's a, sales tax is tied to population too.
Okay.
I mean,
What does that mean?
the county, here, go ahead.
So the way sales tax is distributed, there's 1% of the sales tax that you pay that's distributed back to cities and counties. So the 6.1%.
Wherever that commercial
So half of
entity is
it-
in.
half of it's distributed on point of sale, and the other half is distributed on population. So, the more population, you get a bigger piece of what's in the state.
Right, and that's a huge thing the county is giving up, because we don't get that anymore.
But you're relieved of the obligation to provide snow plows and police officers as the primary response, and park maintenance and those kind of things.
Many of those roads in our planning were private anyway, so we wouldn't be snow plowing them anyway. And those that are, we get B-class road money to plow them. The other thing on the bonding is the bonding was figured upon the zoning that's in place in Moore Village. If that zoning is changed, it potentially affects the capability of paying the bonds off, which, you know, that puts the district in jeopardy. It doesn't hurt the city at all. The city can go change anything it wants, and it doesn't. But the district could be the one that then hits the default.
So Mark, Mike, what is your alternative? Do you envision incorporating another city bigger than Heber? Do you envision it just being county and with 5,000 people? Is that what you envision out there? I mean, what's the alternative? Those property owners want to come develop under the guidelines, and the city's saying we won't give them any more density. So what is it you see as the alternative?
My understanding of why most areas want to incorporate is for density. So when you look at Independence, you look at Hideout, you look at any of those that we've had, they've incorporated because they didn't like what the county offered for density. They wanted more. Now, if they had more, there's no reason to incorporate, because all you have is higher taxes. Now, I grew up in an area in Salt Lake. Now, Salt Lake County now is almost incorporated wall to wall because people decided they didn't like Salt Lake County running their governments, but it was all developed. But the area I grew up in the Eastern Creek Holiday area, had 3 times that population unincorporated for my whole life and for 50 years before that. So those areas exist all over the state that aren't incorporated and have big populations.
What's going to keep Jordan Ridge from becoming an incorporated city? I don't even think the county could stop them, or can they? I mean, what do you expect them to do? If not, they're going to be two cities, or else it's going to be one.
Why would they want to incorporate?
Well, I don't know. Why would they want to annex? I guess by your reasoning, but
Higher density.
Higher
but
densities.
if we agree
That is the answer.
Well, I don't think that's true. You look, a lot of it's control. With the town of Daniel, and I don't know if there's any Danielites here, but Daniel didn't, yeah, okay, thanks, hon. So there wasn't, for Daniel, it wasn't about money. It was about, they wanted control, and it had to do with the airport, it had to do with expansion of other jurisdictions, and it had to do with the citizens that living there wanting to take control of their own destinies.
they wanted to keep Heber from taking them over.
Yep.
Well, yeah, it was a control thing, yeah. But, you know, it's not fair to say that's the only issue. Of course, they're also concerned about transportation on 3000 South and that potentially impacting their town. That's a very specific thing to them. It was a control thing.
What I've heard though is that, and Steve brought it up first, if we're going to do an interlocal agreement, then let's agree to do the same amount of density, see if we can come up with the same zoning, so that there wouldn't be an increase down the line. If we do that via interlocal agreement, then that would stop what your fear is, Mike, of rampant density.
Well, I'm understanding that based on the water and sewer, they can't, unless Heber runs our line.
Unless Heber finds another source, yeah.
It's said why we'd want to do that.
It's developed for the granted density that's in the SST right now.
Right.
If you go beyond that, there's not enough density in the system, or not enough capacity in the system, and you're either gonna have to pay to upgrade the system or bring another one out to them.
Let's, Ron, you're the manager of the North Village of those 3 districts. What, I'm interested to hear your thoughts, if you're okay with me putting you on the spot just a little bit. As it relates to what's existing and
I
what
think,
your thoughts are.
I think I expressed the board's concern that if densities are increased, it's possible that we do not have the infrastructure to serve it. And that would have to be enlarged and more money spent on the basic infrastructure such as outfalls and treatment and that kind of thing. If there's an agreement between the city and the county that densities will not be increased, then that's no longer an issue.
There wasn't one person in the planning commission last Thursday night that wanted to change the density that the county has now. We have no desire to do that. I can't speak for
Would you
10 years.
state your name again?
Daryl Glissmeyer. I can't guarantee what...
Heber Planning Commission.
Heber Planning. I can't guarantee 10 years down the road what the planning commission at that time wants, or even as county council or city council. But the 7 members of the planning commission right now, we don't want more density. If that's a 5-acre parcel, it comes in the city as a 5-acre parcel. You know, if it's a X number per acre, that's what we want to do. We don't want to increase density because we recognize we got a problem with roads. When do our roads fail? You know, we're not far from 32,000 cars per day for our roads to fail right now. I think we're about 28,000. I remember right. We recognize the issue of the police. They can only be stretched so far, and those type of things. So I think it's very unanimous in the planning commission. If you got a certain density in the county, that's the same thing we want if they come into the city.
So if we formalize that in I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
If we formalize that in an interlocal agreement, then we don't have to worry about the future political aspirations of everyone. We've got
a gentleman's agreement, no,
well, it's no longer it's no longer a gentleman's agreement. It's an interlocal agreement.
Get on the internet, there's no gentleman.
Yeah. But I mean, the county council, sorry.
No, you're good.
The county council's heard me say this a lot. I don't see how the county's harmed at all. I don't see how the district's harmed, especially if we do an interlocal agreement based on what we've talked about tonight.
Well, based on what Mike said on planning for future revenue, I think that interlocal has to include a revenue share. Because we have a whole economic area out there that we're just waiting for something to go in.
Okay, but what specific revenue are we talking about? Sales tax?
Sales tax.
Which is sales tax.
Because it's not building permits now, we got that one.
And what, if you get sales tax, what are your plans to do with it? Isn't it the police and the railroads and do all those city kind of
Well,
stuff?
we should do a sales tax.
I'm a city councilman that's not sold on annexing all this. So I guess I don't have a dog in the fight. I've decided which way to send him hunting. But I'm not hearing any alternative to all that property that I asked Mike. I didn't hear an answer. What is it you want it to be if it isn't an annexed part of Heber? What do you want out there, another city?
That question is saying you have to annex or you have to become something. I don't see why that has to be the case.
Well, what is those homes gonna become? Who's gonna police it? I guess you're gonna do all those kinds of...
I guess the
services
assumption is the
then.
sheriff's office can't do that? Is that your assumption?
I think we ought to just make Wasatch County one great big city and merge all of that stuff.
Sir, you had a comment? I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Please.
Wes Greenhouse, Heber City building official. Just two questions, kind of. On the special service district, if somebody wanted to come in and upsize everything so that you could serve them, your capacity go up, do you have any problem with the density from a special service district standpoint? I'm not talking ugly houses on the hill.
I'm talking political, you're just talking
right.
practical.
Isn't that what happens if somebody needs to, every once in a while the city will upsize a line for their own reasons and pay it on their own dime, but otherwise the developer pays the cost of the infrastructure. Isn't that true?
The developer doesn't pay the cost of the system infrastructure, they pay the cost of their project infrastructure, and system infrastructure is paid for by impact fees. So
Okay.
the impact fees we have in place are based on a capital facilities plan that would have to be increased and impact fees increased, but then you're behind the 8 ball because you haven't been collecting them up to that point.
Okay.
Well, and the bonding that went in place to put it in the first place was paid for by those that owned the property at the time of the bonding, right?
Right.
My second comment is if it's not incorporated, then the county is wanting to become a city. Have the sales tax for themselves and all of the stuff that goes with it. Isn't that what you're
Certainly be a
saying?
bigger county. There are counties that are much larger in population than Wasatch,
Right.
unincorporated.
But there's nothing stopping those property owners from incorporating, correct?
Other than more taxes, for sure.
But there's other reasons why they would incorporate.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
Maybe, what are the other reasons? If we hold the zoning the same, what would be the other reason?
The same reasons that all those places in Salt Lake County are incorporated. Local control.
So the question in my mind, as I see it, is do we leave it as county and become a larger county, or do we roll the dice and hope they don't create a new town or is it better to have Heber City put it as part of their map?
Mr. Chairman, I have a recommendation. Could we have Tony, the city planner, and Doug, the county planner, figure out who they want to put together as a team, like lawyers and city and county managers and whomever, to work out a draft of an interlocal agreement that would do what we've talked about here tonight, and then present it to the two councils moving forward, and if we decide it's a good thing, we do it, and if we decide it's a bad thing, we change it or forget.
We got that down. That's a good idea. I don't know, I know we had a couple other comments I want to get to, but I want to come back to that. So Mike and then Ron.
Well, one of the concerns, the property owners came to the county because when they went to the city refused them. So Ron, you had your chance.
The college.
All the property owners there.
I wasn't in office.
No, that's
Right.
right. It changed, things changed.
But things changed. But now, what has happened is a particular property owner up there has been working with us to get developed. Density's fine, they got all the density they want. They have no second road. So their solution to that is to annex to the city, because the city's going to let them go and develop without putting the road in. Now, I don't know that you are, and I don't know that he's even asked. But that's his driver to annex. Is, well, I can't get what I want out of the county, so I'm going to annex to the city. Those are the things that concern the county. I have to agree that I see no issue with this being part of Heber City as far as taxation revenue or anything like that. But the planning that has gone into place on a very difficult place to develop, with water, sewer, everything was kind of geared to work together. We didn't have excess water. We didn't have a spring or a well that produced excess amounts of water to serve an area. All those have to be developed, and they have to be developed as a large unit. It makes it very complex. I was the manager of North Village Special Service District. That's what I was hired to do. That was my first job with the county. It's very different than what the city's been dealing with, where they've had capacities and sources that could feed the growth of the city. We don't have those in these districts, and they rely heavily upon this planning. And if the planning doesn't occur the way we've kind of outlined it, it could be very problematic. That's the concern.
And that's what we can address in the interlocal agreement.
I don't know if we can.
Let's see what we can.
There's so many little things that can it all be addressed? Yeah, I guess it could.
That's Mike. Ron, you had a comment?
I think it should be clarified that as things exist now, building permit revenue is an issue. Because in some jurisdictions, building permit revenue is paying more than just the costs. And it is an issue. If the state legislature takes some action, like has been mentioned, to stop that, then it won't be an issue, but I can say now it is an issue.
So are we making a profit off of the building permit revenue?
Well, the challenge is our building permit and our engineering and our planning is all grouped into one fee structure. So if you take one of them away, the other two suffer. It's a package thing for us right now. We'll have to reorganize it. I mean, we will have to change things, but right now, our planning department and our engineering department and our building department, we work together as we go through these things, and as subdivisions are engineered and outlined, there's fees that go into that cover certain things, and that comes back to engineering and planning, and then building issues permits, and they cover inspections of those permits, but some of the outline engineering and inspection of engineering the district takes care of, and not building and planning. I mean, we're all mixed into this. It's a little bit more of a bowl of spaghetti than not.
If you look at the cost of inspection only versus building permits, yeah, it's a profit center, but there are other costs that support the development of these things. I think from Mike's saying that you need to take into consideration in determining how big of a profit center it will be.
Sir, you got a comment. Please give us your name.
Dave Richards, Heber City Planning. Just a couple things. You brought up, we're talking about the North Village, but back onto the east of Mill Road. As a planning commission, if we had to vote on it, that would not be part of the city. So I hate to think that you think we're trying to take that out. It was just an option. We might as well leave it on the map there. As far as the North Village, this question's for Mike. You had stated that the property owner that's trying to get around the secondary access, North Village views, is going to the city. Do you know that factual? Because I'm kind of on both sides of that fence. I just haven't heard that, but maybe you know something like that. It's a different one?
It's a different one.
Okay. Okay.
The one name that's been mentioned to us that has requested this is the one that has an agreement to build a road to get out of his development.
And
The city would honor if he...
I might have interjected my opinion, maybe more than I should have on that, but he was real happy until we got to the point where he couldn't get his second access. Everything was roses with the county. Everything was on track, everything was set to bond, everything was set to go, and he couldn't get his second access. And all of a sudden, the county was the bad guy, and well, I'm going to annex. So I am superimposing my opinion that that access became the reason for the annexation, although I'm sure he hasn't asked you that question.
Yeah, I just want to know.
I'm sure he has not posed that question.
But isn't the main purpose of our sitting here today, and maybe several other meetings, is to keep the children from going back and forth to the two parents? That's what we've had going on here too long. And surely us parents are smart enough to ride herd on our children. Some parents aren't, but that's the game that's being
But
played.
that's what happened with Wits.
Well, I don't
It's
know.
the exact thing that happened with Wits.
But a lot of that was because every time we get to this type of conversation, we have to hear about something that happened at the end of the last century that I really don't want to hear about anymore. We're all elected to solve the problems we're faced with today and not fight over yesterday. And so I think that we're in a position where we can really address what the mayor talked about, is maybe if we could stop the competition between the county and the city over sales tax revenue, maybe it could be addressed in revenue sharing. I know Heber doesn't want to do that, but maybe that's a good thing to do, and to address what Steve talked about, in that we come to a common set of code, a common set of standards, so that we don't have the children playing us against each other.
I've got a street master plan that we all can agree on that includes the city and right away.